There's been a never-ending stream of books and articles written on Steve's presentation style. At the Bank of Melbourne, we do a lot of presenting, like all corporates. You would have presented to Steve a number of times. Any tips or advice on what worked and what didn't, and what was he good at when it came to presenting?
Actually, there's a great story back from the days of Next that it sort of formed a behavior in me that I went out into the world with for like the next 30 years. I had prepared. It was one of the first jobs I did with him on Next, and we were supposed to do like some newspaper ads for the Next computer. And we flew to California to make the presentation. I was practicing in my hotel room the night before, and that morning I had to impress Steve Jobs, and we had these mounted ads, and we were in the conference room before Steve showed up, and they were face down on the table, and then the account guy gives a little preamble, and then he says, "Ken will show the ads." So I said, well, where we started was this idea, whatever. And Steve just like shut me up in a second. He goes, "Just turn the damn ads over." He said, "Are you going to be sitting next to me when I read the Wall Street Journal in the morning to explain them to me?" I'm like, okay. So I turned them over and we had a conversation about them. So in later years, I would oftentimes tell new clients that story and say, so in that spirit, here are the ads.
The big reveal isn't going to happen.
So, he didn't want people to try to make him think something. No. Just show me what you got and I'll tell you whether I like it or not. And then on stage, there was the Steve giving the presentation. And I think he was sort of the anti-schooled presenter. He didn't stand erect and speak in a clear voice. And that kind. He was just himself. Yeah. And I think there's an authenticity to Apple, and I think to Steve, where he just wanted to be him and be enthusiastic about products. Those were very well practiced things. He would work for weeks leading up to one of his big shows. So it might have appeared to me be more spontaneous than it was. You never went away thinking he was trying to be something he wasn't. That was Steve Jobs.
You were in a lot of meetings with Steve. Did Steve have a particular style or way of running a meeting? Or again, was it quite spontaneous?
We pretty much set the agenda for the marketing meeting. So he would come into the room basically and say, "What do you got?" And we would take him through what we were working on. And he had some people, like Johnny Ive would be there. Even though he wasn't an advertising person, he was a trusted Apple person with Apple values, and he wanted to get his opinion. And when Johnny was sharing things, they would ask for our opinion, like when we're doing multicolored choices in IMAX or something, we got to have our input on what colors we liked best for whatever reason. So that's why I think Steve Jobs was more informal that way. I think a lot of companies, you wouldn't be asked for your opinion. It would just be like, we're having a color meeting here with these guys and we're having advertising with those guys. But Steve liked to get everyone together because it was all related in a way.